Before we get into today's video, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel down below. You follow us on our TikTok, our Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube is just down there in the description button. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. It really helps us out. And thank you guys and enjoy the video. Welcome back in, everybody. It's the Devil's Den, episode number 9. Chris, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Spencer?
I'm doing pretty good too. A lot of news going around lately. A lot of stuff happening in the world of football. But make sure before we start today's podcast, you guys go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We've been posting some shorts and stuff and reels and TikToks and whatnot on all our different social media platforms. They've been doing kind of well. So if you guys are interested in any of those, make sure you guys go ahead and follow those socials as well. But once we get into the podcast today, we're going to be talking about some discussions over the owners and the takeover situation. Then we're also going to be discussing some of the big transfer news that's been happening lately. And then something that Chris and I are excited about. We've had some interactions with some lovely Gooners lately. So we're going to discuss what happened there. But first, Chris, let's dive into the owner situation. Okay, so basically, I want to give a little bit of a brief synopsis for anyone who's uninformed, especially opposing fans. They don't really know much about the situation, into how the Glazers really acquired Manchester United. So it was back in, 2005?
2005.
Yeah, 2005. They acquired the club by essentially taking huge loans out of around 600 million, and I think the total was 800 million. Might be wrong, but the majority of the money was not their money, so it was a leveraged buyout. And basically, think about it like this: if you're buying a house, right, you're gonna buy it, but you take a huge loan out from the bank, and then that debt goes onto you, and you have to pay it off eventually, or you can sell the house and then pay it off. So here in this situation, though, they bought Manchester United with a ton of loans. And then what ended up happening is they put that debt onto Manchester United instead of their family name. So basically, Manchester United has been in debt for the entirety of their ownership stint. But basically, this debt has been growing too because they're not paying it off. And the reason why they're not paying it off is because they got really low interest loans. So the low interest rates make it so they essentially don't really have an increase on the debt like crazy, and they're not having to pay it off like crazy. So they don't really feel like there's a need to pay it off because they're making so much profit out of the club. Like you might have seen in some reports, they've taken 1 billion out of the club in their entire owner, how many years it's been now, 18 years, something like that. But yeah, they've just taken money out of the club through dividends. But the problem here, though, is that this debt has caused us to, at least in recent times, maybe financial fair play might have something to say about some of the debt and some of the fact that we can't spend as much. But the Glazers don't care, because if they do try to eat away at the debt, paying 600 million, which I think the current debt is around 600 million, they would lose money because they're just paying so much to get rid of it. So they figure, oh, well, we're not really paying much in terms of interest rates, and we're still making tons of profit. So we're just going to do that, and it's going to be our cash cow. But what recently came out today, it was actually a report from Simon Stone. He said that the Premier League club owners have unanimously agreed to amend the owners and directors test to prohibit fully leveraged buyouts. And this is according to Simon Stone. So essentially, this new, I guess it's going to be a new anti-Glazer law, pretty much. Basically is saying that what happened 18 years ago, where the Glazers, majority of the money they used to buy the club wasn't even theirs, that can't happen in the future. So if someone wants to come in, a rich guy wants to come in and buy a new club or just a Premier League club, they can't go to the Premier League and say, oh, I'm going to buy them, but the majority of the money isn't mine. They have to show proof that the majority of the money they're using to buy the club is actually their money, and it's money that they have. So with someone like Sheikh Jassim, that wouldn't really take effect for him because he can use all of his money. But with someone like Sir Jim Ratcliffe, we don't know the full details of the bid, but I'm pretty sure he'd still be fine, just because they'd be putting the debt onto Ineos. And I don't know, since they're not buying the entirety of the club, I think the reason for that is because they don't have enough, but they have enough to buy half of the club. So it's an interesting situation because for a lot of United fans, this new anti-Glazer law is 18 years late, and we're the ones suffering. We've been suffering for the entirety of the Glazer stint, and so now it's annoying. I mean, it's a good thing for football, but it's just so annoying to see that they didn't have this in place back when we were bought in 2005. Chris, what do you make of the whole report about the new anti-Glazer law?
Yeah, the new anti-Glazer law, I think, is, like you just said, 18 years too late. But I also think it's kind of a product of the times, because back in like 2005's clubs weren't really being bought for as much as Man United were. So that was like the first kind of like really big deal that was bought in, and a lot of debt was put on. So that wasn't really happening a lot. We've seen that a lot now recently because of the debt and like because of the restrictions we have. It's like tough to kind of negotiate around that when you have that massive pile of debt on. So I think going forward, it's obviously a great rule to have in place. Like, no one wants their own club, to be bought with that, putting them massive piles of debt on them. Um, but yeah, I think definitely 18 years too late. But what can you really do about it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's 18 years late, but also at the same time, it is a good step for not
Definitely.
just football, but all sports in general. Because it's what the Glazers have done essentially. Now it's illegal, and it should have, like, realistically, that's something that should never have happened, because no one wanted it to happen from the fan perspective. But also, like, just the fact that it's put so much debt on the club, and then it's also drained them of just the ability to do so much. Because I don't think people understand, if Qatar comes in and they wipe off our debt, oh my goodness, man, it's going to be over for the Premier League. And I'm not even joking. Like, people don't understand how much money we're going to be able to bring in, how much money we're going to be able to spend. And Chris, I don't know, the debate with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Qatar, recently it seems like Qatar has been kind of more favored, at least in all the news reports. And talks have been kind of heating up in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I know we've been seeing tons of reporters out there saying they've got the inside scoop and that Qatar is going to be announced tomorrow, today, tonight, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like a lot of people are picking up on this story that Qatar have sent in their last final take it or leave it bid for around £6 billion. What do you think about that?
I'm praying it's true. I'm praying that this will all finally be over and we can finally get ahead to our summer plans, because this is such an important summer for us. This is the first real summer Ten Hag is going to get, hopefully with new owners. So I think the news surrounding the bid, it's tough to believe anything you're really saying, but like you just said, a lot of stuff has been heating up. We saw a spike in our share price a couple nights ago, and there was word of the club being even sold in the morning, which now that obviously was not true. But I think you see when a lot of news reports are kind of reporting like similar things, that something could be happening, and a lot of people have been saying like, this is the final week, these are the last couple of weeks. I know we've been hearing this since like February, but the Glazers, they really want to get the business done as early as they can, because they don't want to be funding our transfer business if they can get out. So if they are willing to sell to Qatar, they would, in their best interest, they would want to do it as soon as they can. In the other case, if they go with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, then it really could take, it's really up to them, because they'll still be in charge of the transfers basically. But hopefully Qatar. Praying for Qatar.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. It's so annoying that this has taken, 7 months, I feel like, since the start, where we heard that Manchester United announced, the Rain Group are coming in, and the Glazers are looking to sell, and that gave us so much hope right away. But again, we realized, look, who are we dealing with? The Glazers. And what are the Glazers known for? Taking a million years to do anything, man. It's just, this has happened notoriously in every transfer window. We've seen other teams, Liverpool, Man City, even Chelsea, and sometimes Arsenal too, have just pounced so quickly on all of their transfer targets.
Liverpool just signed a World Cup winner, before the window even opened. And
what are we doing right now? we're
Nothing.
doing nothing. We're apparently going for a Mason Mount, and we're going to be spending somewhere near maybe 60 million, 70 million, which is majority of our budget on a position we don't even really need. So we know with the Glazers that they have let us down notoriously, and this takeover has been nothing short of a failure from the Glazers standpoint because again, like they have let us down. They have literally never done anything positive for the club. Maybe I guess appointing Ten Hag, you could say, is the only thing they might be leaving us with. I don't even know if that was their decision, actually. So a lot of things like we just the hatred towards the Glazers from this fan base, I feel like has reached its peak. And honestly, though, if I don't even know what the peak is anymore, though, because if the Glazers do end up staying and Sir Jim Ratcliffe keeps them on board, or if they somehow don't sell, oh my gosh, the internet is gonna break, man. It's gonna be bonanza.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were major protests or outbreaks like we saw during the whole Super League fiasco when, or if the Glazers say that they're giving half the club to Sir Jim because they're going to stay on with the majority of Class B shares, which I don't know if a lot of people know, those hold more power than Class A shares. So the Glazers may own less of the club and less shares, but the shares that they do hold are more powerful. Um, so it's really, really disappointing if that was to be the case, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's
We'll
quite
see.
frightening because the transfer window had just recently opened. So when the transfer window opens, it's like, okay, we need to start actually going for players. But again, like I said, Manchester United and under the Glazers are notorious for taking their time and ruining all of these different transfers that we want to have early, but we can't because we're operating under one of the worst management systems in all of sports. And it's so tough because you look at Liverpool just signed Alexis McAllister, like you said, a World Cup winner. He improves their squad right away. I don't know if he's going to start for them or if he's going to come off the bench, but you can tell that's an improvement for their squad. When we sign players, we overpay. We don't even know if they're going to contribute fully to the club in the way we want them to. I mean, look at Harry Maguire, 85 million. We totally got scammed there. And then look at Anthony, 100 million. I mean, I still have some time for him, but I don't know. At a certain point, it's going to get annoying. Just all these transfers have inflated the market. They made it hard for us to even go out and buy players because every time we go to a club and we say, "Oh, we would like this player from your club. He only has 1 year left on on his contract. Can we get him for this price?" They laugh at us. They laugh at us. They say, "No, man, you just paid 85 million for Harry Maguire a couple years ago, so you can go ahead and cough up 75 million for Mason Mount, even though Mason Mount only has 1 year left on his contract, and he barely even played last year. He had one of the worst seasons of his entire career, so his value obviously went down, and he has 1 year left on his contract. And according to reports, it seems like he doesn't want to renew. So it's just crazy that we might even get scammed on Mason Mount, who I would like to have honestly as a backup option, or even a starter that he'd be decent. But again, like we don't need him as our main priority signing. We need a goalkeeper and a striker. But even with those, like look at Harry Kane. We go to Tottenham. Daniel Levy, I know he's always been stingy about things, but whenever Manchester United come calling, the price somehow increases. It's because we never get bargains. We never do our business early. And so you look at Alexis McAllister to Liverpool. What was it, 35 million pounds? That is a hell of a bargain for Liverpool. He's a fantastic player. I mean, some of the reports I saw early on about Manchester United maybe being linked to him, I saw in the region of 60, 65, even 70 million on some reports. I just don't get how all these other clubs are able to get players for bargain prices. And Manchester United just continue to mess up in the transfer window. And then it just ruins our ability to get good players for good prices. So, I don't know. For me, it's just this situation with the takeover needs to be dealt with soon.
Yeah, a lot of the transfer stuff you were just talking about, it comes down to bad ownership, bad negotiating, bad people in charge. And the thing with signing players early, like I know people say it's important, but it's like extremely important. Liverpool just signed McAllister. They have the entire summer, the entire preseason now to integrate him into the squad. So he's ready for match day one. He is ready to play for them. We signed Casemiro after the season had started. Imagine we had signed Casemiro at the beginning of the summer. He was able to like get into terms with the squad and stuff and play those first two games for us. We may have not lost the first two games if he had played. So it really comes down to getting business done early. I can't remember the last time we've had a summer where our manager comes in, gives the owners his targets. They get who he wants, and they have the entire preseason to work with them and get them into the squad. It is beyond frustrating that we cannot do this. And it once the Glazers are gone, I really hope that like it gets better. Like obviously we've seen other clubs really get their players in early and get them into the squad. It's I don't know.
We've seen
it's
reports.
so frustrating.
Sorry to cut you off there, but we've seen reports that Ten Hag, he's been trying to push the owners to get the players in early so he can integrate them in the squad, like you're saying. And for me too, another big point that people need to think about is that if Qatar comes in and they do wipe away that debt, then I heard some reports, I don't know if they're really true or not, but I heard some reports saying that we could get an extra $50 million towards our transfer budget. I don't know how that really works, but regardless, I think wiping away the debt is just something that like has been put on the back burner because they could care less because it's losing them money. But Qatar, that would be one of their first priorities to help our financial stability get back to normal. And then also, once we have that, we can also like go into the transfer market with some confidence, have a lot of money, and all these. It's just so frustrating. The Glazers are just we just feel like such a second thought to the Glazers. And I get that they own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I don't even know what other ventures they have, but it seems like they could care less about us. And so it's like, at this point, why do you guys want to keep us? Just let us go. Like it's so frustrating. So
they really only want their match day revenue, their t-shirt sales, and Champions League money. Really all they really care for. As long as we make top 4, they're happy because they're going to get that money in, and as long as people keep going to Old Trafford, they're getting their match day revenue. So they're going to be content no matter what the on-pitch performance is like. But yeah, we've seen it time and time again. Every manager, like even back Mourinho, Solskjaer, they've all wanted their targets early. I think that backing your manager is giving them the players they want. That's what a lot of people think. I think it's also what I was just saying before, getting the right players in early, because having a player once the season started does you no good because now you only have a week in between games to practice. Like when you have the entire summer to have a player in, it makes a huge amount of difference than when they're ready to start playing. Like Casemiro, when he was playing, he wasn't really, or he did well. He wasn't like fully with the squad for the first couple weeks after he joined us. There's that adaptability period that we haven't had because we haven't gotten our targets in early enough. So right now, Ten Hag, you can say he got some of his targets last summer. If he gets his targets this summer, he'll be backed. But part of him getting backed is getting his targets in early. The timing is just as much important as the actual players you're getting, for me.
Yeah, completely agree there. And let's talk about some of those transfer targets, because we could talk for a whole day on the Glazer situation. Yeah. But some big news I've seen of this last week or so was that we saw Tottenham apparently have expressed interest for Jadon Sancho, and this is according to Gary Jacob. He said Tottenham have registered some interest in Jadon Sancho, and some other reports have said around $50 million is what they'd be willing to maybe spend. So for me, I don't know, this ticks me off because with Tottenham and Daniel Levy, we already have seen the reports that we want to get Harry Kane, right? And we want to pay a reasonable price for him, because if you think about it, like I was saying earlier with Mason Mount's contract, Harry Kane only has 1 year left on his contract. He's getting older, and he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So his value, for me, I would pay $70 million for him, but I could see $90 million being like the max. If you're talking $120 million, which some have reported that Daniel Levy wants to sell him for, that's insane to me. And they're playing hardball with him. It's so frustrating because they want to buy Jadon Sancho, and I've also seen reports about Harry Maguire potentially being sold there. So for me, if we do want to sell them to Tottenham, which I wouldn't want to do anyways because they're one of our rivals, I think losing Sancho would be a huge disappointment for me, because we know he has talent. We've seen it at Dortmund. He's displayed world-class talent at Dortmund in the Champions League, in the Bundesliga, and we can tell if he gets the right pieces around him, he's going to be successful. And I think Ten Hag knows that if he surrounds him with the right pieces and he plays him in the right style of football, Jadon Sancho can be a very successful player. So that's why if we let him go to Tottenham, I would just be fuming. And at this point, I don't even want to say that we could do a Jadon Sancho and Harry Maguire swap for Harry Kane, because the way Tottenham have treated this situation is just so frustrating. Daniel Levy is being ridiculously stingy about his price, and they won't even go above 50 million apparently for Sancho when we're trying to get minimum 60, 65 million from him. Because it's like, Jadon Sancho is a very talented player. Although he hasn't played up to the standards this past year and the year before, I think he can still reach those levels that he reached at Dortmund. So for me, I would never want to sell Sancho and Maguire to Tottenham, especially considering that they're not going to give us Kane. So what do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, I agree with you that Sancho should not be sold to Tottenham. Um, but my take is that if we were to, let's say we were open to selling Sancho and Maguire, the only way we can negotiate with Tottenham is if Harry Kane is on the other end of that deal. That's a no ifs and or buts. Like, if Harry Kane is in the conversation at all, I would I think most people would be open for Harry Maguire going the other way. I think some people would be open to Sancho. Personally, I would want to keep him. I think, yeah, like you were saying, he is a very, very bright for Dortmund. I think he can regain that form for Man United. But let me ask you something. If Tottenham come in, say, we want Jadon Sancho and 50 million, and we'll give you Harry Kane, what would you say?
See, I'm like really stingy because I think I have different valuations of different players. And for me, Jadon Sancho, right now, I could see him going for 55, 60 million. So I would honestly say no to that, because I would say I think Jadon Sancho is more valuable than that. The most I would give, if we sent Sancho to Tottenham and we got Harry Kane in return, the most I would give to Tottenham probably be around 30, 35 million. Just because, especially how pissed they've made me with Daniel Levy just not even being open to Harry Kane moving for 90 million. Because, dude, I don't think he understands. If Harry Kane doesn't sign the contract or a new contract, they could lose him for free next year. And he's only going to be 30. So he still have a decent amount of time left where he can still score a ton of goals in the Premier League. So it's, for me, Daniel Levy needs to be thinking, look, I get that he probably doesn't want to sign a new contract. And if he doesn't, we kind of probably need to sell him now, because this is when we can make the most off of him. And I get he's trying to bring his price up, but dude, 120 million, what world are you living in? 90 million max. And 90 million would be good money for Harry Kane on 1 year left on his contract, in my opinion. So I think Tottenham should suck it up and say, look, if you gave us Sancho on 30 million, go ahead, you can have Harry Kane. But it's really frustrating me, because if Harry Kane has any ambition, then he would know I need to leave Tottenham because I'm not going to win a trophy here. So honestly, okay, this might sound crazy, but even if he went to Real Madrid, it wouldn't be a bad move for his career, because he could go win a trophy there and show people that he has what it takes to win a trophy. Because at Tottenham, does anyone really think they're going to win a trophy? If you really think they're going to win a trophy, I feel like you're kind of deluded. But yeah, I think Harry Kane needs to have the ambition to say, look, Daniel Levy, I need a transfer, man. I'm sorry. I've done my time here. I've become a club legend. I've scored so many goals here. Can you please just let me go, man? Like, come on. 90 million is way too much for me anyways. Just accept it. What's wrong with you? So yeah, I wouldn't accept Sancho and 50 million for Harry Kane, just because I have different valuations than might be realistic. But I personally think I really rate Sancho. If anything, Sancho at his peak could be maybe just as valuable as Harry Kane. And I know that might be a hot take, but I'll stand by that. Jadon Sancho showed us insane levels at Borussia Dortmund. He is a fantastic footballer. And if we let him go to Tottenham, I think it might be one of the biggest mistakes in Manchester United's history. Genuinely. That might sound like an overstatement, but hey, I rate Jadon Sancho that much. And I really think he can have a climb back. And all the fans that might be laughing at me right now from opposing teams, keep laughing. Keep that same energy. Because I'm telling you, man, Jadon Sancho next year, it's going to be different gravy. I'm telling you. What do you think about the whole thing, Chris?
I definitely rate Sancho. Maybe not as much as you do. I definitely agree that he was different levels at Dortmund, and he can regain that form here. I definitely believe that 100%. But what I'm also thinking is that Harry Kane wins us the league. We get Harry Kane in, we're instant title contenders. We have that 30 goal a season striker every season that we have, and we have Bruno Fernandes creating for him. Obviously, losing Sancho, I think Sancho and Kane together would be a deadly duo. I think they would be very, very good together. But I think given the opportunity to sign Kane on a reduced fee if Sancho were to go the other way, I think under the right terms, I would be okay with it. It's definitely has to be the right terms. I don't want Tottenham getting a super good deal off of us. Like, I don't want them ripping us off. So, but we also know we don't have the greatest negotiators in the world, which we were just talking about. So it won't be easy, but I think getting Harry Kane in is so important for us in terms of what we need to step up to that next level. And it's, for me, it's kind of become like a whatever it takes thing. Like, we need to get him in. So yeah, no hate on Sancho. I love Sancho. It really hasn't worked out for him yet. I think it can. I definitely believe it can. He's been lacking confidence. He hasn't maybe been playing in the right system with the right players, but there has to come a time where if he's not going to spark up like he has at Dortmund, then those questions can start to be raised. Not yet. I'm not saying we have to get rid of him. He's not going to have a future here. But if there's something involved with Harry Kane, it would be hard to resist that for me.
That's fair. Another player too that has lost his confidence, at least we think he might have. He's not playing as much, is Mason Mount. And we've talked about him before, and we talked about him already in this podcast. But it seems like his news just keeps doing the rounds about Manchester United bidding for him and all these things. Recently today, actually, there was apparently a £40 million bid, and I think it was Matt Law who said it. Yeah, it was Matt Law who tweeted it out, saying there was a £40 million bid was rejected by Chelsea. And Manchester United, for me, I think it's smart that at least we're not bidding 60 million right away and stuff like that. But Chelsea, again, just like Daniel Levy, what are we doing, guys? Mason Mount just had the worst season of his career. He didn't play much. I thought he was going to play when Super Frank came in, but apparently Frank Lampard didn't even want to play him that much because I barely saw him play. And so if even the coach that pretty much gave him his opportunity isn't playing him, there's something wrong there. There's a relationship that's maybe not horrible, but I think there's a big relationship problem with Chelsea and Mason Mount. And so 40 million is, for me, I think 40 million would be good for Chelsea because, dude, you guys need to sell some players. Plus, 75 million for Mason Mount is ludicrous, man. That's just insane. So I think we can't have another saga where we do the same thing with Leicester, where Harry Maguire, we asked for a lot lower of a transfer fee, and they kept being stingy, and then eventually we just gave in at the end of the window. It's like, I really hope that doesn't happen with Mason Mount because he is not a 75 million pound player. 40 million would be good for me. I think that would be good for both sides, but I could see 55 million, but I would never go above 55 million probably. And Chelsea, just like Daniel Levy, need to put some realism into their brains because he has 1 year left on his contract and he could do the same thing Harry Kane could do. He could leave for free. So take the money while you can. It's ridiculous that I'm seeing people saying that Chelsea are right to reject them because no, like, come on, you need to take the money and go. This is not how it works. Like, we did this with Pogba. Pogba, we could have sold him, I don't know how much we could have sold him for, maybe 50 million the season before he left, but he waited on his contract and then he left for free and we got nothing out of it. And it's such a shame. But I don't know, these clubs, maybe it's good for us because maybe they're going to make that mistake and they're going to lose him for free next year. And that'll be even harder hit for them because they won't make any money off of him. But who knows? We'll see what happens with that. And then, Chris, also want to talk about Arsenal. Kai Havertz, apparently, is on Arsenal's radar. And according to reports from Fabrizio Romano, Arsenal are in talks to sign Kai Havertz after positive contacts on the player side. He's keen on the move. Chelsea want around £75 million for Havertz now. Arsenal will not pay that amount. And Real Madrid talks with Kai Havertz are currently off. Arsenal's priority, though, is Declan Rice's transfer. So, what do you make of the whole
It
saga with Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, just everything Arsenal wise? It
it's
seems like Arsenal
well
are all over
from
the place.
like quickly from a Chelsea perspective, this is not the season to value your players so highly. They really had a horrible season, and to be demanding like 80 million for Mount, 75 for Havertz, it's like, do you really think clubs are going to be paying that? Like, I don't think so. For Arsenal, I think Havertz would definitely improve them. I I would say he'd start for them, but I don't think he's really what they need right now. What they need, I think, is like a Rice or Caicedo would really transform them. I think, but for Rice, I don't see them paying more than 80 million for him, in my opinion. And West Ham, now that they're in the Premier League, they stayed in the Premier League this season. They're going to be playing Europa League football next season. Their valuation of Rice is going to remain what it was before, which was well over 100 million. I don't know the exact figure, but they really weren't budging for anything. They weren't trying to negotiate anything really cheap. They said you can have him, but you're going to have to pay a real premium price. Um, so I think that's why a lot of clubs like haven't really tried to even go for Rice, because his price has been so high. I think I don't know the terms of Rice's contract, but when that starts to dwindle down, maybe when there's a year or two left, West Ham might have to have another look and say, okay, we're not going to get this much for this player. Um, but what are your thoughts on Arsenal and Havertz?
Yeah, I mean, with the Havertz situation, Arsenal bidding for Kai Havertz is just so fascinating to me because you've got a player in Kai Havertz who we know, just like Jadon Sancho, he has quality. He showed that in the Bundesliga. And if you play him in the right position and you play him with some of the good right players around him, he could thrive. But again, like we've seen it at Chelsea, he has not played well. He has not covered himself in glory at all. But the thing is, for me though, with Chelsea, they're not playing him in the right position.
Yeah,
They're
I was just gonna say that
they're playing him as striker, and it's just
Yeah.
that's not his natural position. So Chelsea, for me, you can't. The one thing that I will say on Chelsea's value of players is that it's hard to value them just because we know a lot of them are good in other situations and would be good. And I think Mikel Arteta, he might see something in Havertz that Chelsea aren't even able to see in Havertz, because with Kai Havertz, like I said, he's a very talented player, and if they get him playing right, he could be a valuable asset to Arsenal, and he could even propel them a little bit more. I don't know if you could say he's going to win them the league or whatever, but for me, Kai Havertz is a great player. But again, like with Chelsea, you can't say 75 million for Havertz after the season that he and the whole team have had. They literally finished 12th. Chris, I want to take a pause here for a second. Chelsea, any Chelsea fan who comes to us and comments on any of our posts, any of them, at this current moment, dude, you guys need to stop. You finished 12th place in the league and you're still chatting to us. 12th place. You spent over $500 million and you finished below Crystal Palace and Fulham. Those two teams in London are better than you, according to this last season, and you are still chatting to us? Bro, you need to go follow another sport right now, because you should not be talking when it comes to football. Okay? Anyone who's laughing at any other fan base, if you're wearing a Chelsea jersey and you're laughing at any other fan base right now, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. You need to go ahead and pipe down, stop commenting on people's posts, go back to bed. But yeah, let's just get back to the transfer talk. Dude, I don't know. I think with Kai Havertz and Arsenal, it could be a good deal for Arsenal. But again, like they don't want to get ripped off. And same with us with Mason Mount. We don't want to get ripped off. Because if we do, Chelsea could make that money back to spend it on some smart transfers, which we haven't seen much of those lately, but maybe Moises Caicedo and things like that. And I would not want to be the ones funding them getting that player. So for me, I hope the Havertz move doesn't really happen, just because Chelsea could be giving them a beast that's, I think, way better than we've seen. And if Mikel Arteta, which I like his play style, and I think they play some really attractive football. So if they get Kai Havertz playing correctly, I mean, I don't know, they could really propel his career. So let's move on to one of the bigger transfer though, And this is something that involves Manchester United, especially if Qatar come in and take over Manchester United. There are links, I know this is crazy, to Kylian Mbappe. And look, someone might be laughing at me right now, an Arsenal fan, a Chelsea fan, or whatever, saying, oh, we can't get him, we don't have that pool. But, dude, I'm telling you, man, if Qatar comes in, man, the possibilities are endless. And look, if he doesn't go to Real Madrid, which I still think he'll probably end up at Real Madrid, who's to say Manchester United is not a good option for Kylian Mbappe? Chris, just imagine this, man. Just go ahead and close your eyes and imagine this with me. So we got Marcus Rashford on the left. Insane amount of pace. Really good finishing. He's proven that this year. And then on the right, we've got a good winger. We don't know who it's going to be yet because Antony, he's got some clouds on top of him. But a good winger. A good winger will be there. Sancho, Antony, maybe even, I hate to say it, maybe even Greenwood. But up top, think about it. Rashford, your right winger. And then, boom, Kylian Mbappe. Bro, we'd be unstoppable. I'm sorry, that front line would be insane. Like, no, we're contending with City in terms of attackers if we get Kylian Mbappe. So for me, if Qatar comes in and they buy us, bro, Mbappe, you are a Manchester United Red Devil. What do you think about that, Chris?
I think Kylian Mbappe would be the statement signing that we've really needed over the past few years, especially with City, what they've done in creating their attacking depth and what they can do. If we bring in Mbappe, that really sparks a rivalry we haven't seen in the Premier League, really. This is the rivalry on the same level of Ronaldo and Messi, which I think football really, now that we've seen Ronaldo and Messi not playing in Europe anymore, we need to re-spark that rivalry. I think Mbappe and Haaland, both in Manchester, would be an insane rivalry. I think the Premier League should be behind this move. They should, obviously they can't do anything in their power to help it because that would be illegal. But they should really be behind that because you know what that would do for the league, for viewership, to have that level of rivalry in the Premier League. They're both super, super young. This is like a over a decade, 15-year long rivalry we can see. Obviously, I think Mbappe will play for Real Madrid at one point in his career. Even Haaland too. I'm not sure, but I think having both of them in Manchester would be insane. I think it would be really, really good for the league if they were both playing against each other.
And not to mention Mbappe, recently there have been talks about whether he's going to extend his contract, or I think he has a trigger, like where he can trigger an extra year, but he said he didn't want to do that. And for me, with Mbappe, I think I saw him, I sent the tweet to you where he talked about some rumor that was online saying that he was saying he's happy at PSG. But again, that's just something like, he's not going to come out and say like, oh yeah, I don't want to be here on Twitter. That's not a place where he's going to come out and say, I don't want to be at PSG. But if he's rejecting these contract offers, I feel like that's a pretty telling sign that, look, there's a chance for some teams to go in here and do something. So for me, again, obviously this would not be possible without Qatar coming in. But just imagine, yeah, like you said, imagine the Premier League. You've got Manchester City, the best team in the world probably. Erling Haaland up top scoring, 60 goals a season. And then boom, look, on the other side of Manchester, you've got Kylian Mbappe scoring maybe even 80 goals. Okay, not 80, but 60 goals. And look, the rivalry, bro, like you said, man, the rivalry would be just absolutely nuts, man. It would be different levels. It might even reach levels above Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. We don't know that. But I would love to see Mbappe and Haaland in the same league playing against each other. I feel like that would be something so special just for the sport and for everyone viewing wise. And I know that maybe that even sounds like a Super League idea, but that's just that could be a reality in the real world in the Premier League if Qatar comes in. And I know fans might be laughing at us, but come on, man, like you can't deny, like Qatar own PSG. There's so many links with them there. I'm sure they want to bring him in. There's just a lot going for that, and I don't think people can actually dismiss that. And you know, like I saw even some people putting a jersey swap with him in Arsenal. I'm like, dude, come on, people, what are we doing? And then Todd Bowley, no, come on, guys, he's not going to go to Chelsea. He's not going to go to Arsenal. He's probably not going to go to Manchester United. But out of all clubs in the Premier League, I feel like Manchester United is the most likely destination for Kylian Mbappe. Because Manchester City, they've already got Erling Haaland. But all other clubs, he's not going to want to go there. Also, I don't think anyone else could afford him except for Chelsea. So, for me, I would love if he came. But again, probably not realistic. So
Yeah, and just from a PSG perspective, they already had this whole fiasco like 2 years ago or last summer or whenever he signed his last deal. That was such a big shock because everyone thought he was going to Real Madrid, but he signed the new deal, he stayed on, and now he's saying he doesn't want to sign a new deal. PSG are aware of that, and it's been reported that they are not losing him on a free next year. So Kylian Mbappe saying he's happy to stay next year doesn't do anything in terms of PSG's point of view because they're saying we're not giving you away for free. So it's either you sign a contract, which you said you're not willing to do, you want to move on, go to a new challenge, and we want to cash in now. 150 million for Kylian Mbappe. He's hit many peaks. He hasn't hit like his peak yet. That's a fair price for him, in my opinion. 1 year left on his deal, which he said he wasn't going to sign. I personally think he will move on this summer. Probably right now, most likely to Real Madrid. But if Qatar come in, you have Qatar negotiating with Qatar, and it's a lot of it's a very fuzzy because all of that money is somewhat in the same place. I think a deal can definitely be made out between Manchester United and PSG if their owners are from the same country. I think that helps. Obviously, there might be some fishy business going on if that deal were to ever happen, but I think it's a possibility, and I think Mbappe will leave this summer because PSG are, like I just said, they're not going to lose their biggest asset for free, and even piggybacking on that, I think Tottenham should kind of take a note at what they're doing. They're saying we're not losing you for free next year, so kind of cash in now. I think Levy should kind of take a similar approach with that, in my opinion. But we know how much of a stickler he is, so that probably won't happen. But I don't know.
Yeah,
imagine Kane and Mbappe in the same window.
That's not going to happen. But I think too with Mbappe, you look at it from a Kane perspective too with the whole Kane situation. I find a lot of similarities in terms of, at least when you look at it, Kane has shown so much at Tottenham, and he's done so much for the club. Did he break the record for the most Premier League goals this season? I don't know if he did.
For Tottenham.
All time, yeah. No, all
for
time.
Tottenham.
Oh, for Tottenham he did, but okay.
He's second, I think. I think he passed Rooney.
Yeah, but I think he can pass Shearer next year, pretty much. But
I think he's about 60 goals behind. I'm not. Don't fact check me on that.
He'll get there. But even with that, he's done so much for them. And same with Mbappe. I mean, he's won the league with PSG. I don't think they're going to win the Champions League. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you, PSG fans, but I don't think it's going to happen. The way you guys are structured, it's not looking great. And for me, with Kane and Mbappe, they need to go out of their comfort zone. They need to seek Champions League glory. They need to seek an actual league for Mbappe. You know, we don't want to see him in the Uber Eats League for the next 10 years. We want to see him competing against some of the top clubs in the world. And there's no better place to do that than the Premier League. Look, you got Arsenal coming up. Manchester City are already one of the best teams in all of the world. Chelsea are probably going to be back soon with all the finances they have. Liverpool, they had an off year this year, but I could see them being back this year. So you've got some of the best clubs in the world in the Premier League. Mbappe, come on, man. Who are you playing every week in, week out? You're playing against a bunch of French bakers, man. Like, come on. Come back to the Premier League. Or not back, but come to the Premier League and show this that you have, you know, all the skill and all the talent to go and win the league, you know? And for me with Kane too, like, you've done so much for Tottenham, but dude, you got to win the Premier League. Come on. Like, you could become a legend.
He's not winning the league there.
And he's not winning the league at Tottenham. And if he wants to win the league, he's got to move. And so I'm not saying he's going to make us league contenders right away, which, I mean, he could, but I don't know if we'd actually win the league this next year if he came in or the year after. But he definitely gives us way more of a chance. And so I think both of these guys their ambitions just need to rise, because we've seen them in their comfortable spots where Tottenham, he's scoring tons of goals. He's doing, I don't know, I guess they had that one fairy tale season where they won the Champions League final, but they didn't win anything. So his trophy cabinet is empty. And then with Mbappe, bro, you're playing against scrubs, man. I'm sorry. The French league just doesn't cut it. And even moving to Real Madrid, that would still be a level up. So for both of these guys, they really need to increase their ambition. So hopefully we'll see both of them move, but we don't know. And let's move on to our last part, though. So we've got we've got an interesting topic we want to talk about. Basically, as we've been starting off this journey, this podcast and stuff, we decided to make some Instagram reels and TikTok and shorts and stuff, and we thought it'd be fun to post them. And it seems like we've been getting some interactions with some interesting people. And when I mean interesting people, I'm speaking of the Arsenal fan base. We've got a bit of a beef going on with Arsenal right now, because they think that, oh well, we were on top of the table for 94% of the season, so that means we're all that. But newsflash, guys, you did not win the league, and you actually did not win any competition that you were in this year. So, Chris, let's go ahead and tell them what success means.
Yeah, I don't think many people really know, what does success mean in football? To be successful, what does that mean? I think everyone's answer should be winning a trophy. That is the number one objective of being a football club. Being in a competition is to win that competition. You've reached your objective. So let's start out with that. This past season, Manchester United were in a bunch of competitions, but they won one of them, the League Cup. Doesn't matter what trophy it is. They were in a competition and they won it. Arsenal, in the same competitions as Manchester United, did not win a single one. They ended with 0 trophies. So, by simple logic, really, Manchester United with 1 trophy had a better season than Arsenal on 0 trophies. And if you want to even, I've seen comments about West Ham. West Ham also won a trophy. We've seen. So, okay, let's take a step down now. What's the next level of success other than trophies in the Premier League, at least, is playing European football, playing in the Champions League, top 4. It's not a trophy, but I think getting top 4 can be viewed as a success for a team, because it gives them a lot of money to bring in new players, and they're seen more around Europe because they're playing in Europe. So I think that is a success for teams. Manchester United finished 3rd. That means they will be playing Champions League football. West Ham won a trophy. So right now we're at Manchester United and West Ham, both on 1 trophy. But West Ham's trophy allows them to play in the Europa League next season, which is a tier below Champions League. So now, if we're comparing West Ham and Manchester United, West Ham, 1 trophy, Europa League. Manchester United, 1 trophy, Champions League. Who had the better season? Also, don't forget, let's go another tier down. What to bring success for a team? League finish. I know it doesn't really matter because you don't really win the league, but obviously 3rd is better than 14th. It's pretty obvious. So I think you can also define that as a level of success as well. So West Ham, while they have won a trophy and they're playing European football, they finished 14th, which is a poor league performance for any team, really. And for Manchester United, they finished 3rd, playing Champions League football next season, and a trophy. So I don't really get any of the debates that are saying that Manchester United did not have a better season than any team in the Premier League other than Manchester City.
And Chris, also, I just want to bring up a quick fact. Okay. So these Arsenal fans, one of their debates as to why even West Ham had a better season than us was that they won the Conference League, which is a European trophy, which that is true. I'll grant you that's true. But let me just search up real quick, which I already did. What year was the UEFA Conference League founded? Chris, can you take a guess at that? Can you take a stab at that?
Let me guess. 2020?
Close. 2021.
21.
It's literally only
even
been
worse.
Around, it's been around for 2 years, Arsenal fans. 2 years. So this trophy, in my opinion, does not have any type of prestige. And also, Chris, can you take a guess at when the EFL Cup was founded?
Oh God, the Cup, 1930s, 1940s maybe. I
A
don't know.
little early, but 1961.
61. Okay,
So this
that
is an
was
established trophy
that's a ballpark guess.
that has been played for so long, and it even I
Hmm.
think it actually replaced it in the
Was the
1960-61 season. It replaced the Southern Professional Floodlit Cup. So it was a cup before too. The Conference League is not replacing any cup. It's this new thing that Europe and UEFA made to try and add some more revenue. Which, newsflash for you guys, nobody watches the Conference League. Maybe a couple people watch the final because West Ham were in it, but nobody watches it. If you're telling me you watch the Conference League, buddy, get a job, okay? No one watches the Conference League. And the EFL Cup, there are teams like Manchester City in this trophy. Arsenal were in it, for crying out loud. Chelsea were in it. Liverpool, all these big teams. And bro, I was looking at the list of the Conference League teams. They're a bunch of scrubs. I'm sorry.
all the
Ninth,
Wi-Fi passwords.
they're like ninth, 10th place. I don't even know how to pronounce a lot of the teams in there. So if you're trying to tell me that winning a Conference League is better than the EFL Cup, buddy, you're crazy. I'm sorry. And on top of that, Chris, Arsenal fans, hey man, if they gave out a trophy for being 94th or being on the top of the table for 94% of the league, hey, congrats. But that's not a trophy. That's not a trophy. And I'd like to talk about the definition of bottling. Okay? And for me, the definition of bottling is pretty simple. It's Arsenal this year, okay? Because look, 94% of the season, you are on top of the table with sometimes a commanding lead. And look, I know some people were saying, "Oh, Manchester City, they're so great, blah blah, this and that." Yes, they are probably the best team in the world. I hate to say it, but yes, they probably are. But look, you guys bottled the league off games against West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Southampton. You drew this team, Southampton, 20th in the league, right? They got relegated. Chris, I'm pretty sure they were relegated before they played Arsenal.
Early, way early.
Yeah, way early. And guess what happened in that match? They drew.
It's a draw.
They couldn't even beat 20th place, and you are on top of the table for 94% of the season playing some fantastic football. That is, if you don't think that's bottling, bro, I'm sorry, man. That's crazy
Bottle.
to me.
Bottle.
That's huge bottle
Get
job.
bottled. Get bottled.
And personally, for me, I would rather get, okay, this might sound crazy, but I would rather get fourth, just cruising through the season, instead of having so much hope that you were going to win the league. So much. You know how many Arsenal fans were on Twitter and all these social media platforms, even ones in person, telling me, "Oh, like it looks like it's our year. We're gonna win. Ha ha ha." No, bro. You guys bottled it. It's so badly, so badly. That's embarrassing. That should not be praised as an achievement to bottle the league as badly as they did. And for me, I mean, they could challenge next year. We don't know, but these Arsenal fans are just deluded, man. And if you got a problem with that, you seriously must be allergic to trophies or something. And you must love bottling because that was the biggest bottle job in Premier League history. So for me, there's no, not even like a comparison. Yes, you had a good season. You stepped up from last season and the season before because you guys got, what was it, eighth and fifth?
Eighth.
Under Mikel Arteta. And so, hey, yeah, you guys are playing much better football. Give you that. And congrats, you were challenging against City, but you guys don't get a trophy for that. I'm sorry. There's no trophy for second place in the Premier League. This is not the Olympics. Even in the Olympics, the Olympians don't want the silver medal. You know, when you walk up after the FA Cup and they give you out the second place trophies, no one wants that. They usually take it off their head because they don't want it. And I don't think you guys should be celebrating the fact that you guys got second. I mean, I don't even celebrate. I could have cared less if we got fourth or third and Newcastle got third and we got fourth instead. It is what it is. We both got top four, both got Champions League. There literally is no difference from Arsenal getting second and Man U getting third when it comes to implications. It means that we both get Champions League. But we won a trophy, and you guys have nothing to show for this season. So for me, that's the end of the debate. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a lot of Arsenal fans are saying, how do you compete against this Manchester City super team that have went on an insane streak at the end of the season, winning a ton of matches in a row? How do you compete with them? How are you supposed to win the league against this super team? Let me show the final table standings. Man City ended on 89 points. Arsenal ended on 84 points. Arsenal, late in the season, Arsenal played against Man City. They lost 4-1. Let's say Arsenal had managed to win that game, and they've gone to 3 points instead of City. City would have ended on 86 points. Arsenal would have ended on 87 points, making Arsenal winning the league because of one game. One game. And that, along with all the draws they had a bunch of draws. That's, for me, where their season kind of fell apart. But it's the textbook definition of a bottle job, because they had it in their hands. They set their objective, and for the objectives, top 4 was our objective. For being on top of the league for 93% of the season, winning the league is your objective. There should be nothing less than that. Winning the league has to be your priority. Arteta knew that, the players knew that, and they bottled it. They failed to reach their one objective they had all season. They didn't go far in any other competitions they were in because they were solely focusing on winning the Premier League. And they failed to do that. So that makes their season a failure. In terms of the reasons I was stating before, trophies, playing Champions League football, which is, I would say, a success for them. They haven't had that in a couple years. In like 7 years, I don't think they played in the Champions League. So that is a good success for them. But in terms of trophies, no. In terms of, like, you can say,
that they played much better.
I don't know.
But
You
don't get a trophy for playing much better.
Their performances were better. I think they can look forward to next season with high hopes. And I think this season, you can say it was a good season for the fans because they were playing enjoyable, good football to watch, and there were really good vibes around all their players. They were like happy to be a part of it. But in the end, they did fail to win their objective. I think they can look forward with high hopes for next season with their heads up. I don't think they should be looking down, but I just think they shouldn't be saying that they had a better season than Manchester United because we were successful in one of our objectives while they were not successful on their one objective, which was to win the league. Yeah. End of story.
And not to mention, too, last point from me. If you look at the way Arsenal approached the season, expectations change throughout the season. When you start the season, yes, maybe Arsenal were only projected to fight for top 4. Same with Manchester United. A lot of pundits did not have either Manchester United or Arsenal making the top 4. So good for both of us to make the top 4, right? But as the season goes on, expectations change, and Arsenal had the league for 94% of the season. So when you're on the top of the table for that long, the expectation and goal is now win the league. You have such a good opportunity to win the league. You have some very favorable fixtures coming up. Southampton, West Ham. You got to win the league. And the way they played against Liverpool, I think they were up at halftime, and then they bottled the lead, in the second half against Liverpool. You got to win those games. Come on, like, if you were saying to me still at the end of the season, oh, well, our ambition at the start of the season was to make top 4, that's just like, your mentality is just so poor. And I know Manchester United fans have dropped our mentality because we've just had to deal with so much BS lately. But look, once you're on top of the table for 94% of the season, which is more than any other team has ever done without winning the league, like I've said before, your expectation is now win the league. And you can also tell it was the expectation of the team because you could tell they weren't trying as hard in the other competitions. They went out really early in the Carabao Cup. I don't remember when they went on the FA Cup, but I felt like it was pretty early too. And then
Man City,
yeah,
I believe. And
then Europa League, they bailed out of the round of 32, was it, or round of 16? I don't even remember. But they lost to Sporting Lisbon, who they should definitely be beating. Sporting are not better than Arsenal, and they lost that match right at the end. And so you could tell they weren't trying as hard in those competitions. So not only were they failing them, but they weren't even really trying. And then in the Premier League, they're putting all of their marbles, everything towards the Premier League, right? And as I was saying, expectations change. And when you have this much confidence and you've been doing so well for so long, it's like, dude, we got to win this now. We got to win this. And they didn't go and win it. So for me, Arsenal fans, let's think logically here for a second, guys. Come on. Manchester United we won a competition. Not only did we win a competition, we were trying our freaking balls out in every single competition. Ten Hag, with the squad that we have, he was starting some of the players like Varane and Lisandro Martinez that shouldn't be starting every match, and they should be starting the matches in the league, right? But they shouldn't be starting against, a championship side or even a League 2 or League 1 side in the EFL Cup. If we're playing those matches, why are we starting them? It's because Ten Hag has the ambition to win everything he can possibly win. And I get, maybe you could say, oh, well, Mikel Arteta, he wanted to win the league, and so that's why I put all his marbles in there. But a good manager knows, and I think he is a good manager, that you should be trying for every competition. And Ten Hag, maybe he was a little too ambitious by trying for every competition, and we could have done better in the league if we had maybe put more effort into the league instead of the EFL Cup and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, we won a trophy, and you didn't. And we both made top 4, and you didn't win the league. So although you had a good season, and I think we had a good season too, you can't say it's better than ours. Maybe it's marginal, but come on. You guys don't want to win trophies? Or is that what you're telling me? That's beyond me. But Chris, I think let's wrap it all up there.
Yeah.
And it's been a long podcast. We had a lot to talk about. Got a lot off our chests. I know. It's a fun one. Hopefully the takeover thing ends soon.
And surprisingly, not a single word said about number 1. Not gonna say anything.
Hey, it's another day.
It's another day.
David De Gea signing a new contract. So let's hope. Let's hope
one
more and more days. Yeah, one day closer to David De Gea leaving on a free.
Yep.
Please, man. But yeah, so that's gonna be it for you guys. Make sure you guys like the video, like the podcast. We're gonna be posting some of these as just clips. Some of the whole podcast will be on Spotify always, and maybe on YouTube as well. But yeah, just subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all of our socials. They're above and below. And then have a great rest of your day. Yeah, tell your mom, tell your friends. Peace out, guys.
Spread the word. Peace.